Hello crafty people, I am Wiru, welcome back to my cosplay workshop. The Chainsaw Man hype is everywhere right now, so I'm here to teach you how to make your own Chainsaw Man cosplay so that you too can ride the hype train. Or should I say, hype chain. This video tutorial goes great with my Chainsaw Man digital pattern set, which is available in my store at akwiru.com right now. Simply print it off and follow along this video and make your very own Chainsaw Man. And if you enjoy learning about cosplay crafting with me and would like to see videos like this early, receive patterns, and see step-by-step tutorials from my cosplay projects as I make them, please consider joining the Crafty Squad on Patreon. My Patreon is super flexible, just pledge anything you're comfortable with and access everything I post. And with all of that plugging out of the way, press a like and subscribe and let's get crafty. The first step in every project for me is drafting a pattern with random pieces of paper around the house. This project's main piece is a helmet, and helmets may seem intimidating, but if you think about it for a second, all we are doing is making a box around our head and our face. The front of his head is kind of like a beak shape, so we're going to make a paper beak and add a slightly less curved strip for width. And ta-da! That's the front part done. Easy, right? The back of his head is a lot more detailed and is more intimidating, but if you don't let all the details on top distract you, it's actually a simpler shape than the front of the head. It's just a box. So what I did was look at the silhouette from side on, drew that shape out, and made it into a box. Once you have the box, all you have to do is stick stuff to it. Easy. The chin is next, and it's the easiest part out of the entire helmet. It's kind of a spaceship chin, so all it is a V shape folded in half. Last but not least, his iconic chainsaws. Literally just draw a huge wang. We will need 3 blades, but we just need to draw 1 wang. We'll use the same wang for all 3 blades. Ta-da! And just like that, all of the patterning for this project is done. The skill of translating something from a 3D design to a set of flat panels for armor patterns comes with experience, practice, and familiarizing yourself with various shapes. If drafting this project from scratch is just a bit beyond you right now, you can always check out my pattern for this project and hopefully it'll give you a starting point to get familiar with some shapes. Once we're done patterning, it's time to make everything! Transfer all of the paper shapes onto EVA foam, trace all the shapes out before cutting. Remember, some of the shapes need to be cut twice because they occur on both sides and we only pattern one. So just make sure you're tracing out the correct number of copies of each panel before moving on to cutting, so you don't have to come back and cut more later when you realize something's missing. Next, cut the beach! The EVA foam I'm using in this video is from the amazing Lumin's workshop, my good friend from Australia, my favorite supplier, and the original creator of the foam clay. You can find their materials either straight from their store, luminsworkshop.com, or if you're in North America, you can get them through Artowix Canada. And here is where I drop a cheeky discount code for you from the Lumin's Workshop website. Use the code WIRU10 to get a 10% discount off all of the foam products in your cart. With everything cut out, let's assemble. Starting with the back of the head because I think it's the easier half and it's nice to start easy. My favorite glue to use for foam craft is contact cement or leather cement. Grab the matching panels you need to assemble, apply a thin layer of glue onto both surfaces you need to join together. Play with your phone for 5 minutes until the glue on both surfaces are touch dry or tacky, then press them together. Repeat this step until you've got a foam box that you can put over the back of your head. Time to do the front of the head. Before assembling, there are a couple of things we need to do. First, we need to mark out his face details and cut those out. After that, we need to notice the panels on the front of the head need to join at a blunter angle compared to the back of the head. So, before joining the edges, we need to take a pair of scissors and trim one of the edges that we need to join at an angle. This way, when you glue them together, they're not a harsh, boxy 90-degree angle corner like all of the seams on the back of the head are. After all of that, we can assemble the front of the head. When gluing, try to be super careful to match up the seams. The cleaner you can assemble the panels now, the less cleanup work you have to do later on. Now repeat till cry! Once gluing is done, sometimes you might notice your piece is a little bit wonky. This could be caused by tiny variances when tracing and cutting the pattern, or slight misalignment or even tension and stretch of the foam when pressing the seams together. But rest assured, this can be easily fixed with a heat gun. Just gently warm up the foam and shape it around until you're happy with it. Going back to the back of the head, it is time to add details. Take all the little foam detail pieces, place them onto the helmet and position them until they look right. Mark out the placements and then glue everything on. Next is the jaw and the teeth. Glue that V shape together and make a spaceship chin. And then use the foam scraps you've created so far to cut out a bunch of thin spikies. These are going to be your teeth. After that, using another piece of scrap foam, cut a strip and make an arc inside the mouth for the teeth to attach to. Glue all the little teeth into the mouth. Repeat till cry on the top jaw and the bottom jaw. After all of this, add another scrap piece of foam to each side of the chin. This is the jaw now and can either be glued or riveted onto the rest of the head. Finally, it is chainsaw time! We have 3 blades to make, 2 for the arms, 1 for the head. Trace the massive wang onto the foam 3 times, and then on each of them, draw a buttload of spiky teeth. Depending on the look you're after, you could either go for identical spiky teeth all the way through, or you could do them like mine, which is more jagged and irregular, more of a hand-drawn manga kind of style. Now that you've got a spiky wang, use a sharp knife to cut out the shape. The way I enjoyed doing this was cutting all the spiky bits first, and then the outline of the wang underneath. After that, I would have a satisfying moment of peeling all the excess foam to reveal the chainsaw. For the head chainsaw, I put some reinforcement pieces that will help it attach to the front of the helmet. For his arm chainsaws, I placed my arm down to trace the shape and cut a hole for my arm to slip into. After this, it was the true repeat till cry time for this project, the chainsaw beans. These are just tiny little rounded square shapes, but there are lots of them. They go all the way around the saws, and on my chainsaws, each surface needed around 34 beans, and there are 3 chainsaws, each having 2 surfaces. So 34 times 6, meaning I made 204 little foam beans. Repeat till cry. But then it's not over. Each of these beans have 2 little rivet details, 1 on each end, so I took an empty ballpoint pen and stabbed the beans 408 times until each and every single bean has 2 perfectly round rivet shapes embossed into it. I wanted to die. After surviving bean hell, I realized my head blade was a little bit too floppy for my liking, so I added a layer of cardstock and another layer of thin foam to make the whole thing a little bit more rigid. After that, we take foam crafting back to the head for one last time for the neck bits, which I think just look like a bunch of mechanical tentacles. So I just cut even more strips out of scrap foam and angle cut all of them, attach them all around the bottom of the helmet, and ta-da! We are finally ready to paint. First, what we must do is seal the foam. Otherwise, any paint we apply would just get soaked up and look super ugly. To do this, I like to use a product called Flex Bond. It's very similar to wood glue, but just a little bit stretchier so it can bend with the foam. Mix a tiny splash of water into the Flex Bond to make it more spreadable and less brush strokey, and brush it everywhere. Everywhere! Until your entire project is covered with this sticky white liquid. Luckily, on the day I was doing this, it was a lovely sunny afternoon, so I was able to let the pieces dry quite quickly outside. After sealing, we have one more step before applying the real colors, and that is to do a black undercoat onto the entire thing. I used a high pigment black acrylic paint with a tiny bit of water added to make it easier to spread across large surfaces. This will make all the silver that we're about to paint onto it much more vibrant, and it's an instant way to get a weathered look without actually doing any weathering at all. Time to color, finally! I started with the blades because they were the most iconic and exciting to me. I took an old paintbrush and dry brushed the whole thing with silver acrylic paint. Dry brushing is just a technique where you have very little paint on your paintbrush and you're just smushing basically paint residue onto your piece. It is a great way to color cosplay armor and props. Each round of dry brushing only adds a tiny bit of color, but for a color like silver, each little bit is very shiny. This gives a lot of control for you to smush certain areas more and other areas less, creating highlights and shadows. This step can be really fun, but when it is 6 big surfaces of just silver, it is mind-numbingly boring. Repeat till cry. Next, the back of the head. I mixed black and silver together to make my own gunmetal, brushed that on generously, then mixed another, lighter gunmetal shade using more silver than black, then dry brushed that onto the outline of all the details, making some highlights that add a really nice pop. Next, the front. It's orange, and orange always takes many layers to not look ugly. So I mixed my reddish orange paint with some silver and applied it layer by layer. Repeat till cry, until finally the orange decided to be orange and not a poo color. And finally, his teeth need to be cute and white, so I got some white paint and whitened his teeth. And we're done! Ta-da! What do you think? I actually made all of this in the span of 3 nights. 1 hour of patterning on night 1, 7 hours of foam building on night 2, and then all the sealing and all the painting on night 3, which took about 8 hours with all the drying times included. Not bad, huh? I hope you enjoyed learning how to make Chainsaw Man with me. I would love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts or questions, leave me a comment below. And last but not least, before I say bye to you guys, this channel is kindly supported by my crafty squad on Patreon, with extra special thanks to everyone supporting on $15 or more. And those super awesome people are Make Them Awesome, Chad Omiya, Just Believe Cosplay and Props, Senori, Anna Messa, Natalie Buffard-Frichette, Sylvia, and Selexia Talon. I will see you in another video soon, but in the meantime, stay crafty.